Yashoda and Damodar happens, and it's remembered by the devotees during the month of Kartik. In fact, everywhere in Vrindavan and everywhere around the world, you find wherever devotees of the Lord are, they come together and they speak and they remember the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. This is actually the main occupation of humanity. It is stated in Shastras that the main occupation of humanity is savai pumsam paro dharmo yathod bhakti radok saje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. In Bhagavatam, that means that we may all have different occupations. Some of us are mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. These are all part of our dharma. We all work, and that is also part of our dharma. But Bhagavatam says, even though these different dharmas may be there in our lives, Bhagavatam insists that we all have what we call a paro dharma. That is considered to be the supreme occupation of all humanity. And that supreme occupation of humanity is actually to render devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is known as Yato Bhaktir Adok Saje. In other words, we should render devotional service to Krishna. Now, how should we perform this bhakti is actually the challenge. The real challenge in performing bhakti, Prabhu, actually that comes closer to me. It's too far. You're going to get this up and down. If you bring it here, I can control it. And from here, everyone can hear it actually. Yeah, it's easier. We've realized that once it takes the corner, and then I'll reduce the echo, because when I'm speaking, you have to reduce the echo. It becomes difficult for everyone to hear. Is it already fully charged actually?
Not fully, but okay, we continue.
Or we can continue with it first. What I'll do is I'll reduce the echo, increase the
Triple
treble
is
and
triple.
treble is fine. Keep it this way. We'll do it as long as we can.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
If I speak from here, is it easier? Okay, can everyone hear me? Yeah, it's fine. So like I was saying, this Bhagavatam verse tells us that the supreme occupation for humanity is actually to render devotional service. But how we perform bhakti is very important. That's what either frustrates somebody or liberates someone. Sometimes in the name of bhakti, we do so many things, but we don't realize because there is no shastric basis for what we do, that bhakti actually becomes very speculative. Something that I think about, or something sentimental, not based on Shastra, and we think it is bhakti. That is why when you go to a doctor, you get a prescription from a doctor. If you are sick, hopefully you don't go see a lawyer. If you see a lawyer when you're sick, you become more sick. But if you see a doctor, hopefully you will recover. If you go to see a lawyer because you have a case, then hopefully you will get your case through. The point is, you have to see someone who is either expert in it, or you study a manual that specializes in that subject. That is why we have Shastras. When we don't read the Bhagavatam, when we don't study the Bhagavad Gita, then what happens is we speculate on what we think is devotional service. But Bhagavatam tells us devotional service must be performed in two ways, ahaituki and apratihata. In other words, in order for us to really become yayatma suprasidati, for the heart and the soul to become completely satisfied while living in this world, the bhakti that we perform must not have a tinge of material motivation. The moment we have any form of material motivation in our heart, then what happens is that bhakti becomes mixed. In other words, we go to Krishna because we want something material from him. But the difference between that kind of devotee and the pure devotees is that the pure devotees serve Krishna because of their love for him. And their love has no motivation. In other words, their love is unmotivated. So unmotivated means they only do something because they know Krishna becomes satisfied with it. A simple example is Arjuna. In Bhagavad Gita, for the first 2 chapters, Arjuna gave so many salient arguments why he should not fight. But after he finished with his arguments, when Krishna started speaking on why he should fight, by the time the 11th chapter, 33rd verse came, Krishna then told him unequivocally that you have a right to enjoy your kingdom. You have a right to take over the flourishing kingdom. But you must know one thing. Mayaya vaite nihata purva evam. Nimitta matra bhavya savya sachi. In other words, even though you are the warrior, you must fight this war, factually speaking, you are only an instrument in my hands. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whoever who is supposed to be vanquished in this war, they have already been vanquished by me. So a devotee has that perfect understanding that even though he is endeavoring only for the satisfaction of Krishna. So Arjuna fought the Mahabharata war not for his own motives. He fought the war because Krishna wanted him to do so. Now the question comes, how will we know what Krishna wants? The simple answer is, whatever Krishna wants is found in the Bhagavad Gita. And whatever Krishna wants can be understood through his devotees. So the next question is, how do we know what the devotees want? Then we should read Srimad Bhagavatam. Because in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the great devotees and their pastimes with the Lord are very nicely narrated. And by hearing about those pastimes, we come to understand from these devotees how we should worship Krishna. And that becomes authorized worship. In other words, it becomes worship based on parampara. We learn from an expert and then we teach others also. And that is how knowledge is actually given in Vedic times. It's only in the last few hundred years that all our scriptures have become printed. Long before that, the Upanishads, Upanishad literally means to sit close and hear. That's what Upanishad means. And that is how knowledge is revealed. So this knowledge today that we're speaking about is the pastime of Damodar Lila. It involves two parties. It involves Mother Yashoda and it involves Krishna. And this pastime actually happened on the day of Diwali. So actually 2 weeks before Diwali and 2 weeks after Diwali is the whole Kartik Mass. And the culmination of it is on Diwali when the Lila actually happened. So Bhagavatam tells us that on that day, Mother Yashoda woke up in the morning. And Mother Yashoda had so many maid servants. But on that morning, she wanted to churn butter personally for Krishna. And this is first lesson we take. And the first lesson is bhakti can never be outsourced. We live in an outsourced world, isn't it? Everything is being outsourced. You do something for me, I do something for you. But in bhakti, we must personally endeavor. Sometimes people say, why should I work so hard? Krishna is in my heart. He knows who I am. Yes, he knows who you are. But imagine if you just kept telling your wife or your mother or your husband, I love you very much. But you never lifted a finger to do anything for them. And when they say, why you're not doing anything for me? You say, no, don't worry. You're in my heart. I love you very much. After a while, they get tired of you. Because a relationship of love is based on action. It is based on endeavor. It is based on what each person does for the other. So Mother Yashoda started this pastime on the basis of voluntary endeavor. And this voluntary endeavor in Bhagavatam is known as Granatascha Swachestitam. Granatasta means she took this matter very seriously. In other words, any activity that related to Krishna, she was never frivolous about it. She was very serious about it. And that is what we should do when we take up any kind of service for Krishna. We should not do the service in a capricious manner, neither should we do the service in a whimsical manner. And it should never be done on the basis of speculation. Sometimes we go to a temple and we say, I only want to do this service. But actually, a true devotee says, it doesn't matter what service. If Krishna requires that service, we will do that service. There's a big difference, between the consciousness of the first devotee and the second devotee. Mother Yashoda was prepared to churn butter on that day because she knew Krishna loved butter. It didn't matter to her, it was Diwali day and I'm all dressed up and I shouldn't be moving. No. In fact, Bhagavatam tells us she wore a very beautiful saffron yellow sari. And she had wonderful jewelry on her. And she had nice, fragrant malati flowers. And she was all very dressed up. But she decided to endeavor for Krishna. And churning is not an easy thing. Right? It requires great endeavor. And even though it appears to be a mundane activity, because it was connected to Krishna, it actually spiritualized her consciousness. Why? Because it was meant for the satisfaction of Krishna. That's why it is stated in Bhagavatam, Rite ritam ya pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani. Tadvidvan atmano mayam yatha vaso yatha tamaha. Krishna tells Brahma that, O Brahma, whatever that is in this material world, if it appears to have great value, but if it is not connected to Krishna, then actually it has no value. Instead, that thing that appears to be valuable will drag you down into forgetfulness of who you are. This is a very important point. So it's very clear that Mother Yashoda performed what looked like a mundane activity, but it was spiritual because it was done for Krishna. Therefore, that churning became very valuable. Very valuable. So every day we should ask ourselves in our hearts, what are we doing for the satisfaction of Krishna? And when we inspect our own life, we may realize that there are many activities we do which we do not connect to Krishna. And therefore then that begins our lifestyle to be changed. Because until we change our lifestyle in such a way that Krishna becomes the center, then it may appear valuable, but it will just drag us into the law of karma, into the laws of material nature. So Mother Yashoda chanted and chanted Krishna's names. But even while she was churning butter, she was remembering Krishna all the time. And this is the second thing we should remember, that in any situation, even if it looks like an ordinary activity, we should continuously chant Krishna's names. Very, very important. I think Narada Muni says in the first canto, 5th chapter, Namani anantasya hata tapa patan Guyani badrani kritani chasmaran Gamparyatam stushtamana gataspraha Kalam pradikshan vimado vimatsaraha. So this is a very nice point by Narada. Narada Muni says that this is how I was passing my time, and this is how Narada Muni passes his time. He says, I keep continuously chanting. Namani anantasya. Anantasya means always, regularly. So eternally Narada Muni's only preoccupation is to chant Krishna's names. And when he chants Krishna's names, he does it in such a way that the names are always glorious and they are always benedictory. So this is the faith that Narada Muni has when he chants the holy names of the Lord. So Mother Yashoda was doing the same thing. She was chanting Krishna's names and she was churning butter. And therefore in any material activity that we do, our humble request is, you just add Krishna's names. Even if you chant it softly, even if you chant it subconsciously, the power of the holy name is so great that without us even knowing, we actually become purified in our consciousness. If you don't believe me, tomorrow's Monday, just try it. Keep chanting Krishna's names as long as you can. Even though you may not be totally aware, you will realize that there is a change in your consciousness. So Mother Yashoda was very happy while chanting the names of God. And that is the greatness of all spiritual paths in this world. Every genuine spiritual path in this world will tell us the greatness of the names of God, the glories of God, and the pastimes of God. And so as she was chanting and churning butter, she did not feel fatigue. She did not feel like it was very tiring. And that is the experience of all devotees. Even though we may endeavor so much for Krishna, Krishna is so powerful, we don't become drained. We don't become discouraged. Today we have had 2 programs. Prabhu is preaching in so many programs. But at the same time, no one feels fatigued actually. So this is the greatness of chanting. And finally, when Mother Yashoda was churning butter, baby Krishna who was sleeping, he came out. Why did he come out at that time? Because he realized the heart of Mother Yashoda. Because she was remembering so intensely, Krishna reciprocated. And that's the basis of all relationships in this world and in the spiritual world. Loving reciprocation. When someone comes forward with love and you don't reciprocate with love, then you feel hurt. But Krishna is so kind that he never ever forgets to reciprocate with his devotees. And immediately he came out and he stopped his mother from churning by holding the rod, and he indicated to her that he was hungry and he wanted some milk. This is the perfection of Mother Yashoda's day, isn't it? She wakes up in the morning, she churns, and baby Krishna wants milk. So Mother Yashoda's affection was so great that she embraced Krishna, put him on the lap, and immediately started feeding him. And Bhagavatam says as she was feeding him, she was smiling and looking at his face with devotion, with love, and she was looking at his face with great attention. Very important. Why? Because Bhagavatam tells us that only when we become attentive to the Lord do we become attracted to the Lord. It's very important. If we have Matihi Krishna, then we will have Ratihi Krishna. When you are attentive to something, you will develop interest and love for it. It's true. If you were not interested in your math class, because of your lack of attention, you never became actually attracted to math. You find it's a very simple psychology. It happens all the time. But if you put your attention to a subject, I notice all the students are smiling. When you put your attention to a subject, even though in the beginning you may not like it, because you are attentive to it, you will grow to like it. Why? Because you learn to understand it. And that which you understand, you appreciate. That which you appreciate, you grow to love. So therefore, Mother Yashoda was attentive to Krishna. And that is why she was always attracted to the Lord. Now, Mother Yashoda was feeding him. But at the same time, in the kitchen, where Mataji is standing, she also had put a pot of milk. And that milk came from the choicest of milks from the cows. And those cows were the best cows in Nanda Maharaja's stable of cows. And those cows ate the best grass. And therefore, Mother Yashoda was saving that pure milk for Krishna. Unfortunately, as she was feeding him, she realized that the milk was threatening to boil over. If it boils over, the milk would be burnt. And that milk was for Krishna. Now, when you read Krishna book, and if you read the verses from Bhagavatam on Krishna, you'll find that actually everything in Mother Yashoda's household was meant to serve Krishna. It was meant to serve Krishna. This mic, we could use it for karaoke, or we could use it so that we can hear Krishna. One pleases our senses, but doesn't please Krishna. The other pleases Krishna and automatically pleases our senses. So that is how we live our lives. And so Mother Yashoda was feeding him, and now she was in a dilemma. Do I put him down because he is not finished feeding, so he will be upset and angry and save the milk? Or do I let the milk spoil and just continue to feed Krishna? Now when you read the purport to Bhagavatam, a very nice point is given by our devotees. It is nicely stated by the acharyas that very often we are put in inexplicable situations. And in these situations, very often we have to perform two activities for the same purpose. Mother Yashoda had to perform two activities, either feed Krishna or take care of the milk. But both the purpose was the same, to serve Krishna. In such situations, sometimes devotees become bewildered. What should I do? Should I do this first or that second? We are not Krishna, so we can't do them simultaneously. So we have to decide which one goes first. Now at that point of time, Bhagavatam tells us, when a devotee is sincere to the Lord from within will give the devotee knowledge on what to do. That's why that verse, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. That verse in Bhagavad Gita is actually quoted in this shloka. Why? Because it tells us that Mother Yashoda was faced with a very difficult dilemma. But Krishna is also super soul within. And she had the intuition that she must save the milk first. And you will realize that her action was not wrong. By saving the milk, she saved it for Krishna. And by doing that, the whole pastime actually began. If she just fed Krishna, Krishna would have gone to sleep and we will never have this pastime. So actually, a devotee is always guided by Krishna. This intuition is not speculative. It comes on the basis of constant devotional practice. And Mother Yashoda went to the kitchen, Krishna was lying down, and now Krishna became very upset. Not upset with his mother the way we become upset. We are filled with material energy. So Krishna is completely transcendental, but he is now in the mood of a young boy, baby. And Mother Yashoda is in the mood of a loving mother. So God always plays the perfect part. Whether he's your friend, he's the perfect friend. If he's your father, he's the perfect father. If he's your mother, he's the perfect mother. And now he's a child. So he's the perfect child. What do children do in such occasions? They become very angry. So Bhagavatam says Krishna's lips became red. He was biting his lips in anger. And he decided, I have to punish mother because I am not yet fully fed. So he picked up a stone and he broke the pot which she was churning. And all the butter flowed out. Now he knew he was in trouble. Like most children know, they are in trouble a little too late. But most children would then either confess or they run away. Krishna decided to run away, but before that he decided, let me take some butter anyway. Right? It's already there. I'm going to get in trouble. Let me take it. So he took some butter. He went to a solitary place. He ate it very nicely and then he ran away. Mother Yashoda has saved the milk. She comes out and she sees, oh my God, what has happened here? A pot of milk, butter has been broken, and now she can see footprints of Krishna going into the store, and she realized now that this Krishna is very naughty. It's Diwali day. The whole place has become a mess. But she was more worried for something else. Krishna had a tendency and a habit. He loves stealing butter, not from his house, but from his neighbor's house. You steal from the house, at least acceptable. We can do something. But when you go to your neighbor's house and you steal, it becomes a problem. And Krishna seemed to relish the butter only from neighbor's house and not Yashoda Mata. But Yashoda Mata had the best cows. So Mother Yashoda was becoming worried. If Krishna continued this way, he'll become a future thief. He'll be very good at it, but she didn't want a son to be a thief. So she thought, today is Diwali day, but I have to discipline him. So she thought, it is better I discipline him. But at the same time, Bhagavatam says, even though she was worried about him and he was doing something that she should have been angry, Mother Yashoda was smiling. Why was she smiling? She was smiling because she was thinking, yes, Krishna has committed this crime, but he's such a smart boy. He's run away. He's not stood around, because if he stands around, he knows he's going to be in trouble. So Mother Yashoda only saw the good part of Krishna, so to speak. Why? Because Krishna is all good. One can never find fault with Krishna. God is always all good. It's our lenses that are very often not very good. So that is why Mother Yashoda and the great devotees, in any situation, they see the hand of Krishna. And here again, she saw this wonderful pastime of Krishna and she relished it. But she knew she had to discipline him. Meantime, Krishna has gone into the storeroom and Mother Yashoda follows him. And when she looks inside the storeroom, she sees an amazing sight. Krishna is sitting on a mota, which is a big pestle. And he's seated on top, and all the other pots of butter are all stored there. They are stored for Krishna, but they are put very high up so that he won't break them. But now he's very smart. He's got on top the mortar. It's high enough for him. And what does he do? He's breaking the pots. Butter is flowing. But Krishna is not the only one eating it. Krishna has surrounded himself with his best friends from Vrindavan. And they are the monkeys. If you go to Vrindavan Dham, you all will see many, many, many monkeys. And the monkeys are extra smart. If you wear glasses, within a few seconds, they will be gone. Sometimes you won't even know the monkey has got your glasses. That's how quick they are, right? And they're very light-footed. But these monkeys in Vrindavan were not ordinary animals. These particular monkeys who surrounded Krishna, they were all the same monkeys who were known as Vanaras at the time of the Lord's pastime as Lord Ram in Ramayana. And at that time, these Vanaras served him wonderfully. They built the bridge to Lanka. They were like servants. But the mood between the Lord and the Vanaras at that time was very formal. Because Lord Ram is Purushottam Avatar. He's perfect. So he comes as the perfect king, noble, compassionate, but distant. And so his meeting with them was very formal. But before he finished his Lila, he asked the Vanaras one boon. Anything that you want, ask me, because I'm eternally grateful to your service. See, this is the mood of God. God is always eternally grateful to his devotees. We may think the one at the top doesn't need to be grateful, but Krishna always expressed his gratitude. In fact, the quality of Krishna that is strongest you see in Krishna Lila is always his gratitude. Do you know, even though Krishna was a very small boy, when Nanda Maharaj wanted to go out, he would ask Krishna, Krishna, get my slippers. And Bhagavatam tells us the slippers were very big for Krishna because he was very tiny. But somehow he would lift the slippers, put them on his head, and he would run out and give the slippers to his father. Sometimes Mother Yashoda would ask him, just instinctively, Krishna, pass me that piece of wooden plank. And Krishna was very small, he could hardly hold the plank. But he never thought to say, go get it yourself, Mother, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, he didn't do that. We would probably do that. But he didn't do that. He picked it up somehow, he balanced it on his head, and he brought it to his mother. One time there was a fruit seller, She was a very elderly lady who loved Krishna very much. And she would always come outside with a basket of fruits. And she would go everywhere saying, fruits, anyone want anything? Exchange it for my fruits. In those days in Vrindavan, they didn't use currency, they used barter. So, Mother Yashoda, Prabhupada says, and Nanda Maharaj would go out with grains. And they would give grains the equivalent of the fruit, and they would get it. So Prabhupada writes, and this is the words he uses, he says, Krishna might have seen his mother and father doing it. So one day when the fruit seller came and his parents were not there, he quickly saw the fruit seller, went inside the room where the grains were, picked up the grains. But his hands were so tiny, Krishna book says, And he was a small boy. By the time he came out, there was hardly 2 or 3 grains. Everything had dropped in a trail. But with great satisfaction, the way his mother and father would do it, he gave the grains, only 2, 3 pieces, to the lady, like it was very valuable. And then he expected everything to come. But the lady didn't mind it, She thought, never mind, this is Krishna. Doesn't matter if the grains are not many. She was so much in love with Krishna that she took almost all the fruits in the basket and she just gave it to the Lord. As much as he could hold, as much she gave. So if you see the picture, it shows Krishna trying very hard to balance all the fruits. But at the end of it, when she gave him all the fruits, when she turned back to the basket, no fruits were in the basket. There were jewels, there were necklaces, there were pearls. And it was just amazing, because this is the reciprocation and gratitude that Krishna expresses. To who? To his devotees. So this was the gratitude that Krishna had. And that's why when Mother Yashoda wanted to see the sight, she was so amazed. Not because Krishna was just feeding the monkeys, but how lovingly he was doing it with them. And because these monkeys were the same monkeys who in the previous time were the ones who served the Lord as Lord Ram. And Krishna never forgot his promise, because they only asked one thing. What did they ask? They asked that, "O Lord Ram, whenever you come back, anytime in your pastime, anytime, you please allow us to come back to serve you." That's all we ask. We don't ask for bank balance. We don't ask for top up of CPF. We don't ask for a new car. Nothing. We only ask that we be given a chance to serve you. This is mood of a devotee. This is the mood of a devotee. And when that happened, Krishna never forgot. And a yuga or two later, because Ram Lila happened in a different yuga, and this happened in a different yuga, Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga. And years passed. But when the Lord came as Krishna, he did not forget the promise he made to the Vanaras. So in this pastime, you'll find one common thread, the thread of relationships. First is his relationship with his mother. In the same pastime, you see the Lord reciprocating with the monkeys, who are actually great devotees. The only thing Krishna did with the Vanaras was that he did not fulfill their entire promise. Half the promise he fulfilled. That half was the fact that they could be born, they could come again into the world and be with him. But he did one thing that they did not want him to do. He served them personally. He gave them the butter. Not they gave him something. In the last time, they built everything for Lord Ram. But in this life, he gave everything to them. This is the mood of reciprocation. Now, the moment he had given everything to them and he was fully satisfied and they were fully satisfied, they suddenly saw Mother Yashoda with a stick at the doorway. The monkeys disappeared very fast, as all monkeys do. And the only person left was Krishna. Bhagavatam tells us the moment Krishna saw the monkeys leave, he knew now that he was in big trouble, because he knew who was behind him. And when he turned, he saw Mother Yashoda. Seeing Mother is fine, but seeing the stick is not very fine. And immediately, he jumped off the motor and he started running away from Mother. Mother Yashoda thought, all right, Krishna is running, but I can catch him. And so many yogis are trying to catch Krishna. So many great meditation, so many great people are meditating on Krishna. They are trying to catch Krishna. The demons are trying to catch Krishna also because of envy. They try very hard, but they cannot catch Krishna. One time there was a demon called Ivana. And in Dwarka, he came and he wanted to fight Krishna. That was the time when Jarasandha was actually fighting with Krishna in Dwarka. So Krishna told Balram, you handle Jarasandha. And Krishna then decided, I will face this demon personally. So Krishna came out of the city with nothing on him except his hands and his weapons. But as he walked towards Kalayavana, he dropped all his weapons. And Kalayavana thought, oh, so maybe Krishna wants a hand-to-hand battle, like wrestling, So he became ready. But instead of fighting with him, Krishna started walking away from him. Away and away and away. And suddenly, Kalayavana thought, so this is Krishna? He's such a coward. He's running away. And that's why this pastime is known as the Ranchor Rai pastime. It's Krishna walking. So immediately Kalyavana thought, very easy to kill Krishna. I'll just run after him, catch him. Demons are very strong. I'll crush him. So he ran and ran and ran. And just when he was about to catch Krishna, Bhagavatam tells us, as he tried to embrace Krishna, Krishna was half a mile away. And he did this so many times and he could not catch Krishna. And in the end, when he entered into a cave where Krishna had gone in, he thought that he would catch Krishna. But instead he saw a figure lying down at the junction of the cave, and he thought, this Krishna is a coward. After running away from me, he now lies down in terror and fear. I'll just kick him. And when he kicked him, it wasn't Krishna. It was a great sage known as Mukunda. And he was sleeping for a long time as a benediction from Krishna. Right? He slept for years and years. How I wish we could sleep for years and years. But we can't do it because tomorrow is Monday. But anyway, he woke up. And when he woke up, he was not happy at all. And the first person he saw is the first person he cursed. He just uttered the syllable, like one syllable, hum or something like that. And he was reduced to ashes. Muchukunda was a great devotee. He was very powerful. Ivana was a demon. He wanted to catch Krishna, but he could not catch Krishna. So Mother Yashoda was only a mother. She was not very light, not very young. She was a bit heavy. And now the Malti flowers, the whatever was left was also going down. She was getting tired. She thought Krishna can easily be caught, but he just couldn't be caught. And finally, when Mother Yashoda was about to give up, she surrendered. And she thought, I'm working very hard. Somehow or another I have to catch Krishna. When Krishna heard that prayer in her heart, he then became attracted to her. And he gave her the mercy of allowing him to be caught. And so Krishna, who cannot be caught by anyone, becomes caught by his mother on the basis of simple devotional love. After catching Krishna, Krishna becomes great exhibitionist. He exhibits great fear. Bhagavatam says the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never fearful of anyone. In fact, everything is fearful of God, but God is never fearful of anyone. And yet Krishna was here playing the perfect part of a perfect child caught in a very juvenile act. So what does he do? He starts shivering, shaking, and he's full of tears. But Prabhupada writes in the purports and in Krishna book that Krishna's tears were all false. They were all false. Why? Well, you know children, when children become scared, sometimes they are scared. But there's also a part of them that knows, if I start crying, maybe I have a chance. Isn't that true? It's very true. I mean, we're all children. We know that if our parents are really in that, Narsinga mood, then maybe it is better, or Durga mood, depending on how you see them. It's better now to start crying and become weak. So that's why in Bhagavatam, the word next to tears is false tears. It's false tears. But Krishna really makes a good show because he's so fearful. His earrings are shaking, his bangles are shaking, all his jewelry are shaking because he's shaking. And whatever mascara that he has, because he's starting to cry, he's rubbing his eyes. And they are also all pouring down his face. Mother Yashoda looks at him and says, forget the stick. I'm not going to hit him. Poor boy. But I have to discipline him. I have to keep him bound. Because Krishna was very restless. Children, by nature, they're restless. They can't keep still. It's their nature. So Mother Yashoda decided, I won't use the stick, but I have to bind him. So she takes the mota, she puts it up, right? The mota is already vertical. She brings Krishna to it and she says, Krishna, today I'm going to tie you so you can't play with your friends and you won't cause disturbance in the house. And Krishna looks very sad. If you see the picture and if you see the deity and if you read the whole Krishna book, this is the only Lila where Krishna is actually not smiling. He looks a little worried actually, transcendently worried. And this is the uniqueness of Mother Yashoda. There's no other pastime. All other pastimes, Krishna is smiling. Krishna is smiling as he kills the demons. He's smiling when he leaves Govardhan Hill. He smiles when he kills Putana. But he looks very fearful with Mother Yashoda. He does. And this is the greatness of Krishna. Fear. And yet, it is because it is his mother, the great devotee. So then Mother Yashoda decides to bind him. And she takes the rope. And as she brings the rope around the belly of Krishna, she realizes the rope is too short. To be specific, it's 2 inches short. She takes more rope, and again it is 2 inches short. She gets all the rope in the house, and it is still 2 inches short. Now all the other friends of hers, the elderly gopis, they have come inside the house, and they are watching now. And they are not helping her, in fact they are laughing. They found the whole thing very amusing. And Bhagavatam says even Mother Yashoda was smiling because she was astonished. What is this? And our acharyas tell us, in every pastime, Krishna performs what we consider in Sanskrit as vibhuti. Vibhuti means something transcendently opulent. In material world, you call it a miracle, but Krishna performs it as his opulence. In this Lila, he performs the vibhuti twice. The first vibhuti, the first amazing feat Krishna performs is that the rope cannot bind him. And this is what's happening. So Mother Yashoda tries and tries, and for the third time in the day, she's helpless. First is when she's endeavoring to churn butter. Second is when she's running after Krishna. And third, when she's trying to bind him. And when she becomes helpless and she says, I don't know what to do at this point, that means she's submitting to Krishna. So this is a very important point. A devotee never thinks that he or she can control Krishna. And Krishna's message to the devotees is, I also cannot be controlled because I am independent. But when a devotee endeavors sincerely for Krishna, Krishna voluntarily admits defeat. And he says, let me become controlled. So when Mother Yashoda became very submissive to Krishna and surrendered, I don't know what to do, Krishna, I can't tie you. Krishna immediately became more submissive to Mother Yashoda.